The cast for James Gunn's Superman movie just keeps getting better. Pruitt Taylor Vince has been cast as Superman's adoptive father, Jonathan Kent, aka Pa Kent. And my good friend Tommy Bechtold and I love this casting, and here in a second I'm going to bring on Tommy to discuss the casting as well as what it tells us about James Gunn's take on the character of Superman and why this casting of Pa Kent is absolutely brilliant for the Superman story that they are telling.
Sublime!
And we're going to discuss the internet's outrage over this casting, making ignorant comments about the appearance of Vince, comparisons to Kevin Costner, and get this, complaints about Pruitt Taylor Vince, Pa Kent, and the new Superman, David Cornsweet, looking nothing alike?
Why does that matter? I'm adopted.
What? Oh my God! Who told you?
And guys, look, if you've watched the channel for any significant amount of time, you know that I adore Man of Steel. Henry Cavill's portrayal of Superman is fantastic, and while I'm excited for James Gunn and David Cornsweet's take on this character, I was disappointed to learn that Henry wouldn't be getting another go at the character. But the vile nature of some of these fans attacking every single thing that comes out about this movie and the moving away from the DCEU is one of the most toxic corners of fandom right now. Oh, and hey, speaking of the DCEU, it is dead, so be sure to check out our DCEU Memoriam shirt over on our merch store, ScreenCrushMerch.com. We've got lots of great merch up on the store right now. Deadpool, X-Men, Walking Dead, Star Wars. Shopping our merch store is the best way to support the channel. Thank you so much for your support. All right, so Tommy, you convinced me to make room for this conversation in our schedule about Pa Kent, the casting of Pa Kent, because, you know, you and I seem to share, I think, a disgust for the way some people are reacting to this casting. We talked briefly about that yesterday. And, you know, when I saw that Pruitt Taylor Vince was cast as Pa Kent, I recognized him as Otis from The Walking Dead. I'm a big Walking Dead fan. I really like that character. And I was just delighted because he's a great actor. I think he's able to embody some of the most crucial elements of being Pa Kent. Things like being, you know, a warm but like stern, you know, father figure, and, you know, serving as both a punching bag, but also a shoulder to cry on for Clark Kent as he discovers, you know, the kind of man he wants to be. I think that he can really pull off this dad role. Pa Kent's a dad, and that's what Pa Kent is. He's the dad, you know, and he calls you on your shit, but he's also there to dry your tears and, you know, point you in the right direction when you're, you know, trying to figure out who you want to be, which direction you want to go, the moral quandaries we see Superman face and with his responsibilities. And, you know, I love Kevin Costner, don't get me wrong. I thought his portrayal of Pa Kent was great in Man of Steel. I thought it was a really interesting take on the character. I know Ryan hates that version, but he's not here. But, you know, for some reason, I'm seeing all these nasty tweets comparing Kevin Costner and Pruitt Taylor Vince, especially physically. And, you know, you and me are bigger guys, so I kind of take offense to this. And I really don't understand it. Because, you know, since when was Pa Kent supposed to be hot? He's not Jor-El. He's a blue-collar farmer in Kansas, just trying to live an honest life. Pa Kent's supposed to be a character that can put his hand on your shoulder and, you know, tell you the keys to life. He's a normal guy that brings Superman down to earth. He is the human part of Superman. So there's my spiel. Tommy, please take the floor to tell all these haters why they're wrong about this casting.
Well, you know, I will just say I concur with you. I think it is an incredibly narrow-minded take and lazy take to make the casting of Pa Kent, Jonathan Kent, of Pruitt Taylor Vince a negative simply because he is not a hunk. I think that is insane, and I also think that is internet culture. This is a symptom of the glow up, the worship of the glow up, right? Like we want people, glow ups always trend on social media apps where it's like, look what I used to look like and look what I look like now. And that's great. Self-improvement is wonderful. But what we are talking about here is a fictional character in a genre that has ultimate glow ups. I mean, in general, most superheroes are conventionally attractive. They're drawn unrealistically attractive. The proportions of women in comics are insane. Generally, the women cast to play our superheroes. Superheroines are the most beautiful women in Hollywood. It's like, it's just the kind of the fact of the matter. The roles of someone like Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent, if you think about both of them, talk about nature versus nurture. They are essentially raising an omnipotent god who can do anything, which so easily could turn into basically a walking nuclear weapon that could destroy the world. But because of their values and their kindness and their decency, they raise him to care and to always do the right thing. Which, by the way, happy birthday, Superman! I think his
Yes.
birthday is around today, anyway, or was a few days ago, depending on when this airs.
It was when he first debuted, or something.
I think so. I think it was the 18th, 1938. We got so he's happy 86th. Correct me on my math. Call in if you know my math is wrong. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, it's okay. The Lois and Clark, a 90s television series that I watched all the time. Pa Kent was a normal-looking guy, a dad. He had a dad bod, he had a round face, he was balding. There was no like, oh my God, this is like a screen icon. Like he didn't have to be as handsome. He didn't have to be a handsome older version of Superman. He's his adopted father. They're not supposed to look alike. They're not both supposed to be strapping guys. It doesn't matter. Now you take a character actor like Pruitt Taylor Vince, who can play the most menacing of psychopaths and the warmest of warmth.
Hey, Herschel! Talk to Herschel, he'll help your boy!
An incredible span. I mean, this guy he is the character actor's gold standard. Justified, Walking Dead, Heroes. Look at his IMDb. This man is overqualified, and he fits that James Gunn magic of taking an actor that we may assume is some other type of actor, plug them into a father role. Michael Rooker, anyone? Michael Rooker, career of playing psychopaths, plays freaking all-time father figure Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy. Sure, he's a little rough around the edges, but at the end of the day, he'll do anything for Peter Quill, including sacrifice his own life. Jonathan Kent, same thing for Superman. So I think in the hands of James Gunn, this is an amazing actor with an amazing director, and this casting is a home run. And in general, I think people just need to stop. I don't know. I don't want to tell them to stop. I wish for future casting considerations that it's like, yeah, I don't think that I'm a big guy, like as we said, and I'm well aware of that, and I'm not ashamed of it. I don't think I'll ever play Batman. I would love to not be fan casted as Mojo or the Blob for once by our adoring fans on the internet. That would be nice if you guys could maybe just like put me somewhere in the middle. But I think that like, especially these side characters and these characters that are important to the development of the main character's story, let's be all right with casting outside of central casting model talent agency. That's all. I think Pruitt Taylor Vince is incredible casting for this role. I say trust James Gunn in this casting and trust the actor to take this role and give it the depth and empathy. Empathy for a superior being is a tough type of empathy to have, right? Like it's like,
yes.
At a certain point, if your son can run faster than a speeding bullet and leap tall buildings in a single bound, you might get a little jealous as your knees start to hurt when you wake up in the morning and have to take 2 leaves just to go outside and mow the lawn. So, think about the complexity of being Superman's parents, and then maybe assume that we can agree that I do agree Kevin Costner gave a really cool take on it in Superman. I believe that Pa Kent being slightly more, I hate to say everyman. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
This might be jumping the gun, but I really do see the possibility of Pruitt delivering a performance that could get him a nomination for Best Actor. I mean, he has such range, like you said, and just, I don't know, he brings like this down to earth, like humble, just feel that I think is important for a character like a Pa Kent, like an Uncle Ben, that type of character who's responsible for raising a god. Now, we also got casting for Ma Kent with Neva Howell. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yes.
What were your thoughts on that casting?
I love this casting that I was very well aware of up until just 2 seconds ago. Neva Howell, great character actress, former groundling. I mean, this is the thing. We are now. I think the secret that has long kind of been known amongst comedians that it is much easier to go from comedy to drama and even melodrama of a superhero saga than it is to be a dramatic actor and be funny. It is like comedians inherently feel sadness in their real lives a lot of times and are able to deliver heart and depth and emotion. And again, there is a certain sadness to being Superman's adoptive parents, right? You know, it's like being the parent of any prodigy. Times 1,000. You know how hard having any kind of normalcy. You're like all parents want for their children is for them to grow up, be adults, and have happy adult independent lives. And you know how hard it is for Superman Clark Kent to have a happy and healthy life. I mean, healthy may be sure because the sun heals all wounds simply by him going out and bathing in it, but happy. I don't know. He's going to outlive everyone he ever knew and loved on Earth. He basically has to depower himself to be intimate with the woman he loves in any kind of way. I mean, giving Lois Lane a hug, if he doesn't completely control himself, he could crush her. You know, like just a hug, he could break every bone in her body. I think the weight of that. I think both of these actors. That's something that I don't know has been terribly explored. The kind of like the underlying sadness of being the parents of an immortal god, right? Like, just like, you know, time moves different for people like that, you know, and I think the burden that they bore in raising him, and then the burden that he bears. Parents, my mom always says, you're only as happy as your saddest child. My mom's one of 4, so it's like, she's like, you know, even if all 3 kids are doing great, if there's a 4th that isn't doing great, it's impossible for a parent to be happy. And I feel like if you take that, if your one child is Superman, it's a tough life. It's a tough life to be their parents. So I look forward to these actors taking on these roles.
Well, you know, and I hate to keep going back to Spider-Man, but I am a Spider-Man guy. Ryan's the Superman guy.
I love Let's go.
Yeah, the Raimi films, you know, had the more elderly Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Don't get me wrong. I love Marissa Tomei. I like Hot Aunt May. It's great.
Of course.
I liked Diane Lane as Ma Kent. But as we were talking about here, these 2 actors being cast as a more grounded, older, you know, type of parents to Clark, I think that really it's important to drive home the fact that they really help bring Clark Kent down to earth and being like you've mentioned, he is a nuclear weapon on legs. And I think that it's important to have a physical representation of you know, he, like you said, he's going to live beyond everyone he ever knows. So I think having this early experience of losing people you love and having, you know, these parents who are, you know, more brittle and don't come from much, I think that will really humble Clark Kent. And so I think having, you know, maybe not Kevin Costner and Diane Lane as your 2 sexy parents, but having these more just, you know, like you said, just regular people, you know, older people who have lived life and worked hard and have lessons that they can pass down to Clark that he can then put on to his role as Superman. I just think it's so important, and I think this casting is brilliant.
I agree, and I think, you know, it's ironic when you think about Costner and Diane Lane, is like they could have, you know, 30 years ago played Superman and Lois Lane. Like, those are 2 actors that probably auditioned for those roles at one point or another. Right. You know, I just think I agree. I think that the transference of the nurturing from the parents when they're not themselves, you know, not that Jonathan Kent and Kevin Costner's lens was like godlike, but it's like, I just feel like it's a more believable experience that Clark Kent is this aw shucks farm boy when he's not being raised by 2 people who are catalog models. So, you know, maybe that's my own bias in the other direction, but I'm excited to at least explore that version of it.
I feel like Clark Kent was not raised by the quarterback and the cheerleader.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of, you know, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but that's kind of more what Kevin Costner and Diane Lane, that's kind of what they can bring to that character.
Absolutely.
Like, I think Clark Kent was raised by, you know, I don't know
The
what
head of
extracurricular activities.
The president and vice president of the 4-H club.
Right.
You know?
Yes, exactly. That's a great example. So
and that's fine. What a cool. I think, you know, the good thing is we got both.
Yes.
Kevin Costner and Diane Lane's performances will live on, you know, through the magic of streaming until David Zaslav takes them out of the library in a financial cost-cutting move, a tax-cutting move. But and then we're going to get these new performances, and that's why movies are so wonderful. Two things can exist at the same time.
Exactly. And, you know, we know that Superman, James Gunn's Superman, formerly Superman Legacy, it picks up with him already having been Superman for a little while.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, do you think, so in Man of Steel, Pa Kent dies before he really becomes Superman. Mm-hmm. Do you think that in this movie we're actually going to get to see interactions between Superman and his dad? Do we get to see Superman fly back to Kansas and ask his dad for advice and stuff? Mm-hmm. Or, you know, maybe he'll have died and it'll be flashbacks. But I'm really excited for the possibility that we're going to get to see an alive Pa Kent interacting with a current Superman.
Yeah, I think we will see an older Jonathan Kent matched up speaking to Superman rather than just Clark Kent because of the ages of the actors playing both roles. I think Pruitt Taylor Vince is going to be 65, 66 by the time the movie comes out. David Cornsweet is in his late 20s, early 30s, I believe. So it's like, yeah, I think the Jonathan Kent sacrifice in Man of Steel was kind of to teach Superman the lesson that he cannot... He has to act globally, and even if his heart is local, he has to, like, you know, he has to let go of one thing to save another, right? Like, he's got to say, he has to let Jonathan die so that he doesn't reveal his identity. Isn't that the whole point? Is it's like, if I recall that scene, it's like basically Pa Kent says, don't use your superpowers to save me because everyone's going to know who you are, and that's going to ruin your life or force you into a situation you're not ready for, which ultimately propels him to take on the Superman persona. So I think we've done that already. So why not have Pa Kent be the grounding force in Superman's life when he kind of needs a bit of, like, you know, there's no place like home, and there's nothing like a kid back in his hometown. I always say when you were, you know, you first move out after college and then you come back to your hometown, it's like there's just nothing like it. And sometimes it gives you perspective where you can get lost in the big city metropolis thought process of it all, and sometimes you just got to go back to Smallville. And I think having those actors there to kind of have a home cooked meal with Superman, I love the idea of a table scene with them talking. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, Tommy, thank you so much for joining me for this. I'm glad that you convinced me to do it. Now
Yes, thank you.
Now I want to talk about some other examples of some castings in comic book films that were hated, but they went on to be beloved, and I think that's going to be the same case here. So guys, look, fans being up in arms over comic book movie casting is nothing new. Heath Ledger as the Joker, Michael Keaton as Batman, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I could go on. All of those castings got the internet up in arms, but it usually turns out great, and these actors in these roles become iconic portrayals of the character. And I think the same will be true for Pruitt Taylor Vince as Pa Kent, as well as all of this amazing cast for James Gunn's upcoming Superman movie. So guys, there are Tommy and I's thoughts. Special thanks to Tommy for joining me on this video. Really appreciate it, man. If you're new here, please do be sure to subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For Screen Crush, I'm Colton Ogburn.